If you work for the Village of Schaumburg, you have a new compensation plan. My name is Laura Drake, and I'm an organizer with AFSCME Council 31. We have done an analysis of the new wage plan, and it looks like it is set up to allow the village administration to reduce costs at the expense of their employees' wages. Our research team put together a PowerPoint presentation in the hopes that the new wage plan could be easily understood. First, I want to give you a little background. When AFSCME was contacted several months ago by the Village of Schaumburg employees, one of their biggest concerns was the new compensation study that had just been announced. And as it turned out, their concerns were totally justified. From the beginning to the end, employees have had no voice at all in the process. And now I'd like to introduce Maggie Lyons, one of our researchers.
My name is Maggie Lyons, and I'm a researcher for AFSCME Council 31. This is the PowerPoint presentation that we've put together to hopefully shed some light on the compensation plan. I'm going to go through what we learned from analyzing the information the village made public. I'll start by talking about some key points, and then I'll go through the compensation plan and try to make it as clear as possible. I'll talk a little bit about the 2% raise, and finally I'll go over some language that the village used to discuss the compensation plan and what that language really means. The 2% raise is a one-time event that is not a real raise for many employees. Many employees will receive a one-time bonus instead of a raise. The aim of the new compensation plan is to save Schaumburg money by attracting lower-paid, entry-level workers and making it harder for experienced employees with seniority to get a raise. The pay cap and the high bar for pay increases for senior employees may impact pension earnings, since final pay is usually part of the formula for calculating benefits. The new compensation matrix is designed to allow management to adjust the formula as they wish to reduce personnel costs. Under the compensation plan, Schaumburg's current job classifications are reviewed, and jobs that are deemed to be similar are grouped into a salary range. In this example, which is an example the village used in their policy statement, the clerk, groundskeeper, and meter reader are all grouped into pay grade 1. The problem with this is that the policy doesn't disclose how decisions to group jobs into pay scales are determined. With a union contract, management has to provide relevant information and negotiate who will be included in each pay grade and why. The salary ranges for comparable private sector jobs and public sector jobs from 9 communities were averaged. Since you do not have a union, you had no say in what communities they used for comparison, which is problematic because 8 out of the 9 communities they chose are non-union, which means that the employees in those communities probably earn less. The 75th percentile of these ranges was chosen to be the midpoint for the Schaumburg salary ranges. Originally, the village said they were going to use the 60th percentile, which would have resulted in even more employees having their wages frozen. But during the organizing campaign, they changed it to the 75th percentile. So in this example, if the 75th percentile in the comparison group was $55,897, the midpoint of the new pay scale would also be $55,897. There are several problems with this. First, private sector wages were given equal weight with public sector wages. But a compensation plan memo from Schaumburg's Director of Human Resources admits that, quote, on average, public sector compensation is 13.5% above private sector compensation, end quote. According to the Center for Economic and Policy Research, public sector employees tend to be better educated and older than private sector employees, which accounts for this difference. Furthermore, the village's compensation study only attained usable market data for 39% of job titles. They arbitrarily assigned the other 61% of job titles to pay grades without specific market data on average wages for those titles. We are taking a fictitious example of a new pay scale here. If the minimum wage was $45,630, the maximum of the salary range would be 45% above that, or $66,164. The 75th percentile from the comparison group is the midpoint of the new scale. So in this example, it's $55,897. And the maximum salary is 45% higher than the minimum. The new pay scales actually lower the maximum salary for several positions and therefore reduce the lifetime earning potential of employees in those positions. Based on recent reports from the local Tribune, close to a third of all employees will have their pay frozen because their current pay is above the new maximum. This sounds complicated, but bear with me because they've come up with these sort of confusing formulas to allow themselves to control your compensation. So the COMPA ratio measures how far an employee's current salary is above or below the new midpoint. The current salary divided by the new midpoint equals your COMPA ratio. For example, if your current pay is $50,000, and your new scale midpoint is $55,897, your COMPA ratio would be 0.89. The new compensation matrix is designed to distribute pay increases based on performance review ratings and COMPA ratio. This is an example of a possible matrix based on an example provided by the village. For instance, if you have a COMPA ratio of 0.89, like in the last example, and you received a performance rating of 3, in this example, you would receive a 2% raise. The more money you make, the higher your COMPA ratio is. And this is a problem because management has not revealed how they will evaluate performance or how they will distribute COMPA ratios on the matrix. What they have made clear is that each factor in the matrix will be determined and adjusted based on budget goals. A compensation plan memo from Schaumburg's Director of Human Resources stated, each year the Human Resources Department will develop performance compensation matrices that will provide guidelines for determining employee performance increases based upon the budget allocated. So every year, they can change everything based on their budget goals rather than on what is fair. So if the department wanted to reduce the amount of raises one year, they can modify the matrix from the previous page by changing the COMPA ratio distribution. You can see the difference from the one before here. They are free to change it however they choose. In the example before, if someone had a COMPA ratio of 0.89, they would receive a 2% increase if they had a performance rating of 3. In this example, they would receive a 1% increase. Or they can reduce the percent increases. In this example, with a COMPA ratio of 0.89 and a performance rating of 3, you would again receive a 2% increase. The village controls all 3 parts of the chart: the COMPA ratio, the performance rating, and the percent increases. They can manipulate it however they wish.